Hello, friends. I want to talk to you because I really love the beings on here, and I've been thinking about Sleeping Beauty. You know, the fairy tale, and how it was the bad fairy who wasn't invited to the party, the celebration of the birth of the king and queen's daughter, and then how she then cast the spell on the daughter as revenge, you know, for not being included, not being invited. You could read it like that. And I've also been considering how divisive the kind of the world is around kind of like our ability to receive and access truth and conflict, you know, like inviting the bad fairy archetype, say, into our parties and say, hey, I'm going to sit down with you and I know you're not going to agree with me, you know. And, you know, that's one of the things I'm really, really interested in the Earth Wisdom School. Because, you know, one of the challenges I have, one of the things I really sit with a lot is like, what is the point in you know, really, really embedding shamanic practice into my life, into kind of like 7-year apprenticeships, like completely devoting myself. And there's a voice in my head or you know, that says, if it doesn't make sense in a traffic jam, when you're rushing somewhere, if it doesn't make sense, you know, when all the children are with you in Tesco and you're doing your shopping, then there is no point. So I really want my practice to be grounded into this realm, you know. That's my real desire. And I can tell a story about my life, which is that I didn't have a voice for a long time. It was kind of like my voice wasn't invited in. And actually, when I really sat with that and when I really worked with that, what I realised was that my voice was absolutely necessary. And as my voice came in more, my mum's voice came in more, I could hear more of the voices of my ancestors more, every woman in the family that had been silenced and a story had been told about her. And, you know, how much I related with that story about the bad fairy, that the voice hadn't been invited in, like not being invited, and the bitterness that can come from actually not being in the space. And when I was planning on like moving into 2026 with my work and everything, what really came through strongly was the importance of being able to sit with discomfort of our relationships shifting into the depth of being able to disagree. You know, one of my favourite things to do with my loved ones, with the people who I really, really value, with my friends, is when we get to I don't agree with you, and then we get to look each other in the eye and then we go, ah. And I call it the deepening, you know, because it happens with every single one of my dear, dear beloved friends, that we can't actually access those places without feeling comfortable with inviting in a different view, with inviting in a potential conflict or a sticky point with each other. And that's something, I feel like I keep saying this, but like in my journeying, it's like war affects people's ability to speak confidently and clearly about what they actually need. And one of the shadows of that is what I call like, what has been called like banal evil. Like, well, what can I do about that? I haven't got a voice. I can't change anything. I can't do anything. And I feel like what's really come through for me strongly is to really support people around finding that voice, finding those ways of really knowing which way is up in a situation, you know, using the shamanic journeying to actually tune in with the light, the divine source guidance that's coming through to tell you, you know, when you're on the right path, and to illuminate that path as well. And that it's very easy to, you know, fall into the shadows of not being supported or not having strength or guidance in the direction that you know is the right one, as an excuse for not following the path. There's an excuse for kind of not having the conversations. And that's why I brought back the mother threads, because I have a particular piece for mothers, which is around, well, your children are watching every conversation you have. You know, your children are watching you speak to the people in power, to speak around the kitchen table, speak every single time you communicate. They learn how conflicts can be overcome. They learn how they learn the quiet voices. You know, they learn the kind of the long game. They learn the tiny powers of patience and the lighting of the candle and the prayer. And, you know, all of those things are so important. And one of the greatest tools that I bring to my mother threads is the altar, the family altar, where all of the prayers of the family get to come to the altar. You know, all the words of the family get to come to the altar, and they all get to be heard. And I know a lot of people journeying through sort of family alienation issues, or kind of some really big things around, well, I've stopped talking because nobody will listen. And, you know, they're the real threads that I'm picking up at the moment. And I'm really encouraging people to come back to the table, to come back to the places where you didn't feel like you belonged, because they actually need you. You know, the whole point about Sleeping Beauty and the Bad Fairy was like, they should have invited her. If they'd invited her, there would have been no spells. You know, sitting with what discomforts you, or what is objectionable, you learn through that, you know, and that would have been the greatest gift for the King and Queen's daughter's arrival, is to witness her parents inviting in the trickster, inviting in the sacred clown, inviting in all these characters, and really learning that is a healthy way to work through these things. The first session that I'm running is on Wednesday, the 7th. That's the Mother Threads at 10 a.m. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you all again. People who've journeyed with me before, welcome back. And the next one, the Earth Wisdom School, is going to be the purification from being everyone to being you. You know, really learning what your voice sounds like. You don't have to have a big voice, you know. You don't have to be a speaker. It's not about that. It's about really understanding your essence, knowing which way is up, like knowing the light, knowing that you're speaking with love, knowing where you're coming from, and understanding how that ripples out through the world, and allowing it to be received with love as well. And that's my intention for my circles. I'm going to leave that there. And thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to seeing you all again. Gorgeous beings. We'll see you soon. Take care.